Okay, so very good morning, afternoon, evening. It's always sometime, somewhere for somebody. Um, we're going to use this webinar for anybody that's just logging in and joining us. We're going to use this webinar to kind of watch the U.S. interest rate news and see where things go. So again, guys, it was 6 weeks ago. It was 6 weeks ago that we saw probably the best chart to look at is this little beauty right here. Last interest rate news situation. I mean, it was on, whoops. Oh, what do we want here? We want this. July 31st. So July 31st, they cut rates a quarter of a point. Mid-cycle adjustment, they called it. And so what happened on July 31st? This happened on July 31st. And the market just went, that's July 31st right there. This is the VIX. So you can see that not so little candle, definitely not so little, went just bananas, right? So we have that guy right there. And we had, big spikes up and down, and we saw the VIX go from a comfortable little low, low level to, more than double where it was, or just about double where it was. And then we spent the whole month of August just in this high volatility, messy, horrible, terrible market. August was, I think I've mentioned this. August was, hedge funds lost billions in August. Investment funds lost billions in August. I have a neighbor who works for a hedge fund. He got fired in August. So, it was terrible. August was terrible. We're a couple of days out of August, I think. Where are we? We're a couple of weeks out of August. There we go. Markets have been a lot better. We're starting to see some movement. We've had a couple of good little trades here and there. Things are kind of starting to move and scoot and scurry here. So I don't know if lightning strikes twice in the same spot. The Fed is expected, and these expectations are kind of ever changing. They're expected to cut rates again, another quarter point. If that happens, the market's expecting that. The reaction shouldn't be so big. And at this point, I'm kind of down with not such a big reaction. If the market just says, hey, the Fed has to cut rates because everybody else is doing it, and they just want to make sure we keep this bull rally going into the election or whatever, and then great. We should see a pretty nice reaction from that. But if they don't cut rates, which is a possibility, we could see things just be super confused again, right? They cut rates and everybody said, well, why did we cut rates? And now everyone's saying, well, let's just get on the bandwagon with everyone else and keep cutting rates. So then if they don't cut rates, I just can't imagine the confusion is going to be at all manageable. So we have that side of things. So we have all the news that'll be hitting in about 6 minutes. And then we've got the press conference. And the press conference could be wild and crazy as well. So the first 5 minutes or so of this whole 11 a.m. Pacific time should be kind of crazy, or just may not do anything. But this is kind of round two. This is where we reload and we're ready for the next leg of movement, and that is the FOMC press conference. And that's where we're going to get Powell saying whatever it is he's going to come up with, and it might be crazy and wild. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes and how it plays out. The VIX, basically in trading 101, when we get to major low support or resistance levels, major support or resistance usually causes the market to kind of turn. So I'm not real excited about that. The VIX, we've got the VIX coming all the way back down to, over the last 2 years or over the last year and a half, the VIX has kind of maintained pretty good composure down here at that little support level, at those lows, that whole kind of 11, 12 level. We might just see things go totally nuts and totally crazy. Now, to just remind what totally nuts and totally crazy means is we could see volatility spike, and if we see volatility spike, and we see, let's just say, yields start coming back down again. Everybody's pouring back into bonds and treasuries, and we see yields really start coming back down after the news. Then we're probably just going to see the same thing that we've seen again, which is yen strength, kind of that safe haven currency strength, and Swiss franc strength. So we just don't know what is going to happen. I wish I did, but I don't. And so I'm just kind of keeping my eyes and ears open here, and we're going to see where it goes. And we kind of know what it is we're trying to look for, so that's good. But at the same time, things could be kind of wild. So, I'd love to see the dollar index maybe make that final stab at the high from the news and start working its way back down into this 97 level, so we can kind of get some of that dollar weakness that we're looking for, or just that the news drives the dollar down. That would be great as well. Man, I mean, can you guys imagine if the news comes out and whatever it is, it drives the dollar through 97? Ooh, that'd be pretty interesting. My feel. Excuse me. Hold on, I'm not gonna go dying on you. There we go. My feeling is, like I said, the lightning strike. I could see this being kind of a non-event. Interest rates are expected to get cut. They're going to cut rates. Most likely, the market's not going to react hugely, and that's okay. That's great. We don't want huge reaction. But what are some of the if we see that kind of big reaction, if the market panics, goes into full-fledged panic mode, we're going to see things like this happen potentially, right? New Zealand yen make a big run down there. We could see euro yen especially make a big run down, that kind of stuff, right? Aussie yen, we could see that big run down. If things seem to, and again, Swiss, Aussie Swiss is actually a trade we have in the premium group here. Aussie Swiss, that could make a big run down if markets panic and if the news is really unintelligible, undigestible, nobody knows what's going to happen, kind of a thing. If, on the other hand, everything kind of comes out as expected, and the markets are back in line, and they say, guess what? Usually with an interest rate cut, stocks rally, risk on. Then we'll see things like the Aussie Swiss and the Aussie yen and the Euro Swiss and the Euro yen and all these pairs running up. So literally in about a minute and a half or so, we will have a generally good idea of what might be coming. So I'm just double checking here. Okay, there we go. So, again, guys, there's going to be a few things to watch for here. We have technical setups, right? I've been talking about this. I've been saying, hey, the news could be a great opportunity for something like this Aussie yen to come down, or excuse me, Aussie Swiss franc to come down, hit some of these lower targets, kind of reset this movement, and gear us up for the bigger, longer-term movement. I could really absolutely see something like that happening. But it's going to be interesting. We've got a lot of factors to look at. Interest rate news is just part of it. Like I said, a press conference is going to be kind of the big doozy, and we're just going to have to kind of let the press conference happen and just see where it all goes. But this probably should not be the biggest shock, but we'll find out. And I think we're good to watch. Just anything here. Aussie Swiss should be a good gauge. Dollar yen should be a good gauge. Dollar index. I mean, we can look at. Let's do that. Let's bring up. I'm going to leave the Aussie Swiss up as we get into some of this news. We'll pull up the dollar index. Let's just see where these guys go. So, rate cut as expected, priced in by the market. So far, so good. So rate cut of 1/4 point. So see that we were around the 2.25%. I always forget about these numbers, right? We're less than 2.25%. Now we're less than 2%. I always have to think, you guys know the alligator. The alligator's mouth is open towards, and it's greater than or less than, whatever. I always forget the numbers. Anyways, so a rate cut as expected. Markets are not shocked. We see dollar index kind of bouncing around here just a little bit. How is the VIX looking? That's what we want to see. So the VIX initial reaction, it's up a little tiny bit, but definitely not in any kind of a scary place. Then an unscary place. And unscary is good. But I'm just looking here. I'm just looking at everything, trying to peek at the news, trying to multitask here. Yeah, there's an interesting. Okay, I'm just looking. I'm looking at the news, peeking at it. Any thoughts, anybody? Just looking at a few things real quick here. Yeah, Fed lowers rates, FOMC, full statement, yada, yada, lower rate on repos by 30 basis points, three-way, okay. So, all right. So nothing too out of the ordinary. Things are kind of just moving along. We saw the news, that was expected. And no super major move here. And so that's, yeah, exactly, Bob. No major move. Of course, the time where we said, hey, we'll see how the interest rate news goes, and the markets just go bananas. And we're like, oh, and then we say, all right, we're locked and loaded and ready to go. And of course, nothing happens. So typical, right? Hey, Mill, nice to see you. Yeah, let's look at the old SPY here. Down a little bit. Just a pretty overall kind of low grade movement. Just a little minor activity there on volatility. But it's kind of holding steady. Our typical kind of volatility pairs, or risk on, risk off kind of pairs here. We see New Zealand yen making just a little bit of a soft push lower, nothing too crazy. Dollar pairs. Euro took a little bit of excuse me, a little bit of a hit, but nothing major. So everything's just kind of, we're just kind of staying in this. We closed out our Euro Swiss for those in the premium group. We closed out that Euro Swiss from 109.30 just because, I thought if there's any fear, any volatility in the market, this Euro Swiss is coming down to this market imbalance, down to this daily pivot at the very least, down to the market imbalance, if not further. But, things seem to kind of just be, everything's just kind of cruising along here. Oh, there's our Aussie dollar is hanging in there. We're seeing some of these other Aussie things dropping, and drops are good. Drops are good. I want to see if this Aussie New Zealand's ready for some movement downward. I think if I had to take a wild guess, I would say that it might just be. That might have been as much of a head and shoulders pattern as it could give us, which, it's all right. So looking for that Aussie New Zealand to head lower. So, we're just kind of peeking at all things. We have this Aussie yen kind of making a little bit of a push. I think we have a couple of things going on. Xperia XZ2 Compact, welcome. Kieran, there we go. Nice to see you, Kieran. Euro USD spiked down a bit. Yeah, yep, it sure did spike down a little bit. Yeah, so we're seeing a very, very limited reaction to the news. And what I'm trying to look at here is, what are the yen and the Swiss franc pairs doing? How's the market feeling? Is there any panic in there? Is there anything kind of going on with that? And it looks like, yen and Swiss franc pairs are just business as usual. Business as usual. So nothing too crazy happening from the news here. We did want to make sure, we didn't get, any wild, crazy movement out of those New Zealand pairs. Those seem to be holding pretty steady. Oil has made that big, massive comeback from that huge gap that we had from from everything. Oil's kind of coming back down. Gold's holding steady. Dollar index doing nothing. VIX doing nothing. You know, we're just kind of seeing that steady flow there. A little bit of a pullback on some of these 30 and 10-year yields. Everything is kind of made just a little bit of a dip down. The 3-month yields are down a good little bit. But that 30 years, it's up there pretty good, 2.2. And, we've seen some little comebacks on some of those long-term yields, but I think everything is pretty calm and pretty good. Euro dollar, yep, little spike on euro dollar. Pretty curious about this this little area here. We got some train tracks going on there, and we'll just see, how this candle ends up. Obviously, euro dollar is going to have to make some sort of convincing move above this guy here to really start giving us something to look for there. 110.75 is where I'd like to see some daily candles open above, right? Because now we see that is quite the area right there. So 110.75-ish. We've definitely bounced off of it, as you're saying there, Mel. Yep. And so, we're bouncing off that resistance. We're bouncing off, maybe a little bit of support from the 1 hour 200 EMA. We'll just kind of see how things play out. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff. So I'm glad to see the news not be super loco crazy. And most of the time it hasn't been. But we do get, 20% of the time things go bananas, and that was definitely the case last interest rate news announcement. So we wanted to kind of watch things. Again, I do expect some volatility and some craziness, very potentially, to come from the press conference, which is in about 25 minutes or so. And in the process of that, I think probably what we need to do is just kind of prepare ourselves for a little bit more volatility, a little bit more kind of movement coming up. Now, what I want to hear from you guys is, does anybody have any questions? Is anyone saying, hey, I've been dying to ask you about this currency pair or this setup or this trade or anything from either group? Don't be shy. I won't blush if you ask me about a trade from a group that you're not in or someone else is in, whatever. Just anything you guys want to talk about. Let's use this opportunity that we're all together for a couple of minutes to make sure that everybody is good and clear on everything that we are trying to do. So everyone feeling okay? Any thoughts? Any comments? Any questions? I'm gonna put a couple people on the spot because I know there's a few new people in here, and I'm happy to see all of them. And by the way, Andy, I'm happy to see you with us, and both Dennis's. And Henry, good to see you, my friend. Keith, good to see you. And Mikkel, nice to see you. Nate, good to see you all. Good to see you all. Ryan, are you our California contact? Fellow Californian. There's some Californians in here. Good to see you, Sim. I just want to make sure everyone knows. Hi, Sassy. Good to see you. I want to make sure everyone is doing okay here. Nate asking for a friend. Asking, okay, I like it. Yeah, good to see you, Ryan. Good to see you. Nate, I think the euro yen is a super interesting. It's a super interesting pair. I've been a little bit plagued by some of the areas here. We have big support on these levels, 111, 115, and it came just shy. It came down about 116, and turned around pretty good. I'm definitely interested if the euro yen is going to maybe give us some of this business, right? Maybe a huge head and shoulders pattern and a movement down, or is this a rounded top? And we've got to get below that 115 to ignite some movement into 110. Very possible. The flip side is, do we have the euro yen going bullish, right? Is the euro ready to start making a bit of a move? Is the yen ready to take a back seat because volatility is somewhat under control? These are all really good questions that we have to kind of take into account for this whole thing. So it's kind of a crazy looking chart that we have here. But if you look at some of these channels that have been in place here on this euro yen, you know, it hit just about support. It's been hitting the bottom of those channels. I mean, probably the near term movement here is going to be, you know, start working its way into some of these upper levels. I never hate this kind of stuff right here, where we get some pullbacks and then, you know, that kind of movement. So if I had to be anything, and of course this depends on what happens with the press conference in 20 minutes. If I had to do anything, I'd probably be long euro yen. Honestly, I'm really supporting kind of the long-term movements of a risk-on kind of market. Yen weakness, Swiss franc weakness, commodity strength. Yeah, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Good, good, excellent. Mel, just ecstatic about 66 pips from the Euro Swiss last night. Need to appreciate wins when they happen. Absolutely, Mel. Yep, that was a nice little trade. That Euro Swiss was nice. I wanted to make it a little bit more of a long-term trade. We're going to look to get back in, but I just thought I don't want to give up profit. I don't want the market to go totally bananas ahead of news that is very, very regularly volatile and crazy. So yeah, Euro Swiss was a nice little trade and worked out well for us. Strategy for getting on with New Zealand dollar and Aussie yen. Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about that, Lars, for sure. Yep. Bob, what's the latest on election in England? I don't even know. Does anybody know what the England update is? I mean, I'm just, I don't know. It's been going on for so long. I kind of stopped paying attention to it. I'm just not touching pound pairs and kind of steering clear. I'll tell you, Lars, so to go back to kind of, you know, what I think should be the plan for Aussie yen and New Zealand dollar, basically exactly this. This is what I want to see. There's going to be some selling opportunities, I think, on this Aussie dollar or on this Aussie yen, just because we have so many targets here. Remember, we have 3 consecutive missed daily pivots, which, as they say, is not nothing. So that's pretty good. So those 3 consecutive missed pivots right there. By the way, if I sound like I'm overly caffeinated, it's actually from yesterday. I haven't even had any caffeine today. I don't know what's going on here. So 3 consecutive missed pivots right there. Plus, let's see. I don't know if we have any other randoms. I think those have all been hit. But 3 weekly pivot or 3 daily pivots, a weekly pivot, a big crazy market imbalance. The Aussie yen needs to come down. It needs to come down. We need to get a movement into this area here. From there, from the 72, kind of the mid 72s, I want to start getting long Aussie yen and trading the heck out of this thing up. For those that are in the Aussie yen long from a while back, that's where we're going to be adding that next position, is somewhere in the 72s, around this market imbalance, around this weekly pivot, you know, daily pivots. So that's absolutely what I want to see. Again, I think there's going to be a decent little opportunity to, you know, maybe short this, make a couple of bucks on that move down. But the real movement for me is going to be that. Buying it from here, getting long, trading it straight up. So that's all I've been waiting for. That's all I've been waiting for. Just looking for a nice little move there. And it's, you know, it's basically the same kind of situation with New Zealand dollar, right? For those that are long New Zealand dollar and looking for that move, New Zealand dollar's, you know, it's hanging in there. You know, we get these breaks and the New Zealand dollar just kind of stays bearish. It can't stay bearish forever, although New Zealand will move a lot like yen pairs, where it kind of just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and then continues going. So I'm kind of just watching. I'm watching for double bottoms. We've got a big bullish engulfing candle here, or excuse me, bearish engulfing candle. So I look at that and I just say, yeah, I'm going to let that dip just a little bit more and just, you know, look for some stability. Look for, you know, there's a big market imbalance right there that probably needs to get hit at the you know, 6,300 level. And so I'm just kind of watching that whole area, and then we'll start looking at some of these shorter term charts and just see, you know, see if we can start getting, you know, what we want to see is we want to see that we can get some short-term channels breaking out. You know, I mean, this is just kind of the minimal bullish sign that we want to see here. And so I'm just looking for, that kind of situation to happen there. Get a little bit of bumping around, look for this to break out, and then start adding to that. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. We're taking any action on New Zealand close to law position. Yeah, I think I just answered that, Kieran. Did I answer all that, by the way? I want to make sure I didn't leave anything there. Joe, is the target for Aussie dollar still 6,800? Yes, I think that's a good target for Aussie dollar. Yep. And it's coming down real good, real nice, real good. So that was a little scanner group trade there. Two positions. We did lock in profit on that other position. I said, let's just wait. Let's wait on this darn thing. For anybody that got taken out, for anybody that's still in, just ride both those positions down. But they're doing good. So yeah, we'll still look for 6,800. Just kind of get out around that weekly pivot market imbalance. Yeah. Why not take a loss and jump on? I mean, you can, Lars. You can definitely take a loss. You definitely can. Again, the discussion we've been having quite a bit in both groups is scale, scaling into trades and so on. And so, for me, it's not worth taking a loss. My first position on Aussie yen was pretty small, so I'll just add to it. So it's just not worth taking a loss. It's not, it's not causing me any trouble leaving it open, and I'm definitely anxious to add to that dip. So yeah, I just want to. I'm just letting it run until it does something. Positively. Good questions, guys. Good questions. I love it. What else do we have? What else? Any other questions, comments? These are all good ones. I like it, guys. I like it. What else, folks? What else? I'm just double checking. I'm looking at my open positions as we speak, making sure everything's kind of hanging in there, and it certainly is. Okay, everyone else clear on everything? So we're seeing, we're seeing a little bit of movement. This, for whatever reason, this crazy. There we go. This crazy Aussie yen doesn't want to go down, so that's that's good for those that are long Aussie yen. For those that want to get short, this may or may not give us a big move here, but I'm definitely looking for some some dips and some buying opportunities there. But it definitely seems like the risk on is staying strong. We've got some risk on holding pretty good, and we can see that on those Swiss franc and yen and the VIX. What did we see that VIX as? Has that changed anything? Still sitting in kind of a low comfortable area. So again, things could get crazy with the press conference, but we'll see how it goes. Good, Bob. Taking some small shorts on drawdowns for success. Excellent. I love it. Kieran, at what point do we decide to cut losses per strategy? When it just, it's really a tough one. I like to give markets room to wiggle, and I usually only get into things that are at excellent turning points. So I guess to kind of say it in a sentence or two, I don't really like taking losses ever. And I will from time to time when it just absolutely doesn't make sense to hold on to a trade anymore. If I have too much exposure, if I have a bunch of Aussie trades and Aussie everything's down, I'll close an Aussie trade, which I did on the Aussie CAD, right? I said, all right, I've got exposure on other Aussie trades. I'm gonna limit my risk here. But we're getting in at such strong levels with such important targets that, barring the occasional, Fed news that we saw 6 weeks ago that really just confused and killed the market, it's somewhat rare, right? That is not enough for me to say, okay, I'm going to start killing these trades and taking these losses. Now, that's my strategy, guys. You guys can always, if there's a trade, you're sick of sitting in drawdown, whatever, close the trade out. It doesn't bother me to sit and draw them. It doesn't bother me to get the market room to move, and it doesn't bother me to add multiple positions to a trade and let it play out. In fact, that's much more what I prefer. And so I don't really, I very rarely take a loss and close a trade like that, because we're not really that wrong very often. We're not wrong enough that we really need to take a loss. Again, there's the occasional time once or twice a year where markets might go totally nuts. But I'm not going to I'm not going to base my strategy on that. I will obviously keep very cautious about that, which is why we've been kind of discussing keeping that first trade size small and making that second trade size, going much smaller on the first trade size and a bit larger on that second trade size, just to make sure that we, our test the water trade is not putting too much risk on the table, but our next, following positions are really where the money's going to be made. Yeah, August was a freaking kick in the pants for sure. That was no fun. No fun indeed. Good. What else do we have, guys? What else? Questions, comments? I'm just kind of watching this. Those that are in the Aussie, who's in Aussie dollar short? Who's in 2 positions on Aussie dollar short? Who rode both positions through the news? Guilty. I love it, Emil. Guilty. Bob, okay. Aussie dollar short, good. And that's okay, guys. As long as you've got some margin to kind of go for it and so on, but it's doing exactly what we wanted it to do there. Anybody else in Aussie dollar short? 1 or 2 positions? Okay. Hey, Manjit, good to see you. 1 position short. Cool, Chris. Sounds good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Also in Aussie, New Zealand. Hey, Dennis. Good, in 1 position. Greg, one position short. Cool. All right, good, guys. Good. Yeah, we just wanted to be a little bit careful and a little bit cautious. But I think these Aussie pairs might just give us, I think we're going to see a little bit of a break. I think we're going to see a little bit of a move lower, which I'd love to see. I think that Aussie yen, I don't think the Aussie yen and some of these other Aussie pairs can make meaningful continuations of the trend without some pullback. If they don't pull back, there's not going to be that follow through that we want. And then we're going to be looking at strong, massive reversals coming up. So, hey, Greg, good to see you, my man. So I think we need to see these movements down towards some of these levels on Aussie yen, Aussie CAD, Aussie, dollar, Aussie whatever, and some of these others before that big long-term rally can pick up and we can start jumping into some of those trades with some big profits. So looking forward to that. Okay. Anything else? What else? So now that we're past that big news, and of course, in the next couple of minutes, and we'll stick around for a few more minutes here, because let's just see if let's see if the press conference is full of just madness, and it might be. Today is a heavy news day, though. We were talking about this in the beginning. We have all this news, crude oil inventories, FOMC stuff. Then we have Aussie employment numbers, and that's going to be wild. So anybody that's in Aussie pairs, kind of just keep that in mind. Aussie employment news is coming out, and that's going to be pretty volatile. You can see these numbers are oftentimes 3 or 4 times bigger or less than expected, so there's always a lot of volatility around that. But Australia is going to have some exciting activity there, and then we've got some yen stuff coming up here as well. The monetary policy statement and the press conference. Japan doesn't ever say anything or do anything. It's just kind of so. But I think what we have for the rest of the week here is, things should be pretty manageable. We're not trading any pound pairs, and there's a lot of UK interest rate news coming tomorrow. We don't care too much. Swiss National Bank monetary policy assessment. They keep things pretty cool, and I think things are expected to not change there. And so, I think the rest of the week we should see some calm steadiness. Going into next week, interest rate news from New Zealand. Boom, that's going to be a good one. Oh no, why we got daylight savings coming up already? Oh, I hate that. But next week should be pretty calm as far as news goes. So I think we're on track. I think everything looks good. We can start taking these trades and following things along. Yeah, Lars, I'm so ready for a cookie right now. I can't even hardly handle it. Greg, always here after listening to the Guru. Yeah, well, we're happy to have you, Greg. We're happy to have you. Always participate whenever you want or feel like it, but never any pressure. Never any pressure. Okay, you guys. Thoughts, questions, comments. We'll take. I'm going to take literally probably a 5-minute cookie break and a water break. But I'm going to leave the screen on and take a 3 or 4 minute break, and then be right back. And we'll see how this press conference is going to go. It starts in about 5 minutes. We'll just watch for the first 5 or 10 minutes, see what happens, see if we get any kind of wild and crazy movement, and then we'll take things from there. So hang tight, guys. Stay with us. Great time to take a water break. Quick 5-minute break. I'll be right back with you. That's right. Someplace it is happy hour. Okay, so I'm going to pause the recording for just a moment here. I don't know if I know how to really do that. Oh,